We often sacrifice so much for the people we care deeply about, our time, our energy, and sometimes even our identity, just to show them how much they matter to us. We overlook flaws, make excuses, and give the benefit of the doubt again and again, hoping that our loyalty will be enough to hold things together. But what happens when all that effort is taken for granted? When someone we thought was genuine only showed up when it was convenient for them? They ask for our support, lean on our strength, and appear kind when they need something. But the moment their needs are met, they fade away without warning. And there we are, left with questions, self-doubt, and a growing sense of emptiness. So how do we take back control in moments like these? How do we stop being drained by people who only show up when it suits them, without shutting ourselves off from real connection? That's what we're diving into today. This video explores 10 critical lessons every man must learn when navigating relationships with women, drawing from the powerful teachings of Stoic philosophy. These timeless insights have helped men for generations stay grounded in who they are, even when the world around them feels uncertain or unfair. And by avoiding these 10 common mistakes, you'll begin to reclaim your strength, rebuild your confidence, and develop the emotional clarity you need to move forward with power and peace. So if you're feeling exhausted from giving too much or confused about where you stand in a relationship, this is your moment to pause. Take a breath, sit back, open your mind, and let's walk through this together. But before we begin, help support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and turning on notifications so you never miss out on wisdom that can change the way you think, feel, and live. Now let's begin. Number 1. Don't reshape your life to fit others. Have you ever looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? Not because of how you look, but because of how far you've drifted from who you truly are. It often starts subtly. You meet someone who excites you, someone who makes you feel seen, at least at first, and you think, if I just change this one thing about myself, maybe they'll like me more. Maybe this will last. So, you make small adjustments. You stop hanging out with certain friends. You drop your favorite hobbies. You avoid topics you're passionate about because they don't seem interested. And before you know it, you're no longer living your life. You're living someone else's version of it. It feels like you're wearing a mask every day, smiling on the outside while shrinking on the inside. This is one of the most common traps men fall into in relationships. Out of love, or attachment, or fear of being alone, we become shapeshifters. We silence our voices, bury our needs, and slowly erase the parts of ourselves that made us strong in the first place. But here's the problem. When you mold yourself into who you think someone wants you to be, they're not actually connecting with you. They're bonding with a watered-down version of you, a version that's incomplete. And eventually, that false version crumbles under the pressure of pretending. The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned us, if you live according to the approval of others, you will never live at all. That's the heart of this principle, because when you prioritize someone else's expectations over your own values, you give away your inner power. You become a passenger in your own life. Think about this. Have you ever dropped a goal, a dream, or even a personal belief just to keep someone around? And did they stay? Or did they leave anyway? After you had already sacrificed a part of yourself? That's the bitter truth. People who ask you to change who you are for them will never be satisfied, because what they truly want isn't love. It's control. Instead, take a Stoic approach. Define your core values, know your principles, live by them even when it's uncomfortable. If something matters deeply to you, your family, your health, your faith, your purpose, then those are non-negotiables. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for living with integrity. A real partner will admire you for standing firm. They won't need you to shrink. They'll want you to rise. And yes, walking your own path might mean walking alone at times. But it's far better to walk alone with clarity than to follow someone else into chaos. The peace you feel when you're aligned with your true self, that's something no one can give you and no one can take away. Your life isn't meant to be a performance. You don't need to win anyone's approval. You are not an accessory to someone else's story. You are the author of your own. So write boldly, live deliberately, and never ever reshape your life just to fit someone who can't see your worth. Number 2. Don't ruin your life by being too obsessed with someone. It's easy to fall into the trap. You meet someone and they light up your world. You think about them constantly. You want to be around them all the time. You rearrange your schedule, adjust your priorities, and suddenly, your world begins to revolve around them. At first it feels like love. It feels exciting, intense, even beautiful. But what you don't notice is how, bit by bit, your own life starts to shrink. You stop making progress on your goals. You stop showing up fully for your friends, your family, and most dangerously, yourself. This is how obsession begins. And obsession doesn't look like passion. It looks like dependence. When your emotional state is tied entirely to someone else's mood, message, or presence, you're no longer grounded. You're floating in their orbit, hoping they don't disappear. And if they do, you crash. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." What he meant is this: your peace must come from within, not from someone else's approval or attention. Because when your happiness depends entirely on another person, you give them control over your entire emotional life. That's not love, that's self-abandonment. Ask yourself, have you ever lost sleep waiting for a response from someone who was never thinking about you? Have you skipped workouts, abandoned your plans, or avoided family just because you were hoping to keep someone close? That's not romantic, that's destructive. And over time, it robs you of your self-worth. Stoicism teaches us to value what we can control and release what we cannot. You can't control how someone feels about you. You can't force commitment, attention, or loyalty. But you can choose to honor yourself. You can choose to build a life so full and rich with purpose that no one else becomes your emotional center. Your time is precious, your energy is sacred, and your mind is your home. Don't let someone else take up all the space in it without paying rent. This doesn't mean you shouldn't love deeply or care fiercely. It means you must love without losing yourself. It means knowing that you are whole, with or without someone else by your side. Because the moment you make someone else your everything, you risk becoming nothing when they leave. So take a step back. Breathe. Reclaim your center. Obsession isn't love, it's fear. Let go of the fear of losing someone and instead focus on becoming someone who's grounded, strong, and fulfilled, with or without them. That's the Stoic way. Number 3, don't let anything harm your mental health or happiness. There's a quiet kind of suffering that too many men carry alone. You smile when people ask how you're doing. You say, "I'm fine," when you're anything but. Deep down, you feel drained, overwhelmed, and stuck in a cycle of giving everything to someone else while getting little in return. You try to keep the peace. You try to be strong. And without realizing it, your own mental health begins to erode. Why? Because you've made someone else's happiness more important than your own well-being. It's one of the most dangerous mistakes a man can make in a relationship. Putting someone else's needs so far above his own that he forgets he even has any. You stay quiet when you want to speak. You show up for them when you're falling apart inside. You say yes to things that hurt you just to avoid making them upset. And slowly you lose the joy in your days. You feel exhausted but can't explain why. But here's the truth. Your peace is not negotiable. Stoicism teaches us to protect our inner world with the same urgency we'd protect our physical body. If someone tried to harm you physically, you'd fight back, run, or call for help. But when someone harms your peace with guilt, manipulation, or emotional neglect, too many men just take it. They rationalize it. They tell themselves, it's not that bad. It is that bad. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And if your thoughts are constantly consumed with stress, anxiety, and self-doubt because of a relationship, then you are trading your mental clarity for a temporary connection. And that trade is never worth it. Your mind is where your strength lives. It's where your focus, your creativity, your discipline, and your purpose all begin. When you give that away, when you allow someone else to consistently disturb your emotional foundation, you risk everything. So ask yourself honestly, have I been feeling heavier, more anxious, more uncertain ever since this person came into my life? Do I feel more like myself, or less? Do I sleep peacefully, or do I stay up at night replaying conversations and questioning my worth? Protect your mind like it's your most valuable possession, because it is. You have the right to peace. You have the right to say no. You have the right to walk away from anyone who continuously disrupts your joy. This doesn't make you selfish, it makes you wise. It means you're done choosing chaos just to avoid being alone. Choose your happiness. Choose your sanity. And never let someone else's inconsistency destroy your inner stability, because no relationship, no matter how deep the feelings, is worth sacrificing your mental health. The Stoics understood this. True strength begins in the mind, and if your mind is at war, everything else falls apart. Number 4. Don't push friends or family away for someone else. One of the most dangerous things a man can do in a relationship is slowly disconnect from the very people who've always been there for him. At first it seems harmless. You cancel a few plans. You stop replying as quickly. You spend less time with the people who know you best, all because you're trying to give more of yourself to someone new. But what you may not notice is that you're trading something irreplaceable, your foundation. Your friends, your family, your brothers, they're not just part of your past. They are the ones who remind you of who you are when you start to forget. They've seen you at your best and your worst. They speak truth when others feed you comfort, and most importantly, they have no interest in controlling you. They care about you. But when you let someone come between you and your tribe, you weaken your entire support system. It's like cutting off the roots of a tree and expecting it to stay strong. You start to feel unstable, disconnected, and when the relationship you're clinging to begins to fall apart, you realize you've distanced yourself from the very people who could have helped you stay grounded. Plato once said, "People are like dirt. They can either nourish you and help you grow as a person, or they can stunt your growth and make you wilt and die." Not every relationship in your life should revolve around romantic love. Some of the most vital relationships are those that aren't based on desire, but on loyalty, honesty, and unconditional care. Too often, men abandon their brotherhoods in pursuit of love, and end up isolated when that love fades. Don't make that mistake. When someone truly respects you, they won't want to cut you off from those who care about you. They'll understand that your relationships with friends and family are part of what make you whole. They'll respect your boundaries and encourage those connections, not resent them. And if they try to convince you that you don't need anyone else but them, that's not love, that's control. A Stoic man knows his strength comes not from being alone, but from knowing who's in his corner. Your friends and family are your reality check when emotions cloud your vision. They remind you of what you value, who you are, and what you deserve. So don't distance yourself from them. Instead, lean into those relationships. Strengthen them. Because no romantic connection should ever come at the cost of your tribe. And when life gets heavy, as it always does, it's those people who will help carry the weight. Don't push them away. Pull them closer. Number 5. Don't invest too much time in them. Time is the one thing we can never get back. Once it's spent, it's gone. And yet we often give it away so carelessly, especially to people who don't value it. Have you ever looked back and realized how many hours, days, even years you poured into someone who never truly saw you? You rearranged your schedule. You waited on their calls. You showed up over and over again while they gave you only pieces of themselves. It's easy to fall into this trap. You think, if I just give more, maybe they'll finally see how much I care. So you keep giving, your time, your attention, your presence, while receiving almost nothing in return. But here's the reality. Giving someone all of your time doesn't make them love you more. It often makes them respect you less. When you're always available, always ready to drop everything, always saying yes, you stop being a man of value and start becoming a man of convenience. And that's when they begin to take you for granted. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And what's more wasteful than investing your most precious resource, your time, into someone who treats it like it's worthless? Stoicism teaches us to live intentionally. That means every moment you spend should serve your values, your growth, your peace, or your purpose. Relationships can absolutely be a meaningful part of your life, but they should never consume all of it. Because when one person becomes your entire world, you shrink the rest of your world down to their size. Think about what you could have built in the time you spent chasing validation. How much progress could you have made in your fitness, your goals, your craft, or your finances if you had kept even half of that energy for yourself? When you invest too much time in someone who doesn't reciprocate, you're not just wasting hours, you're delaying your future. You're putting your growth on pause, and for what? A temporary connection? Someone who only values you when it's convenient? It's time to take your time seriously. A Stoic man protects his schedule like he protects his mind. He knows that who he gives his time to is who he gives his life to. So stop throwing your minutes into a bottomless pit, hoping it turns into love, Instead, invest in things that give back: your health, your purpose, your discipline, your brothers, your family. And if someone truly belongs in your life, they'll never demand all your time. They'll want you to have space to grow, space to lead, and space to live. Remember, time is your greatest treasure. Spend it on things and people that multiply your strength, not drain it. Number 6. Don't reveal everything about your past, especially the tough times. There's a powerful kind of silence that every man should learn to master: the silence of restraint. In the early stages of connection, it's tempting to share everything. You want to be honest, open, real. You think that telling someone about your darkest moments will make the bond stronger, and in some cases it does. But too often, especially when trust hasn't been earned, that same honesty becomes a weapon used against you. You share your struggles, your regrets, your failures, and later those same stories are brought back to shame you, to weaken your position, or to justify someone else's behavior. What once felt like intimacy starts to feel like exposure. Stoicism teaches us to be measured with our emotions and guarded with our vulnerabilities. Not everyone is meant to carry the weight of your past. Epictetus wrote, "Be careful to leave your doors open only to those who deserve to enter." In relationships, that means understanding the difference between openness and overexposure. Vulnerability is powerful, but only when it's given wisely. Have you ever confided in someone too soon and later regretted it? Have you ever watched someone twist your words or retell your pain as gossip, not support? That's the risk of handing out your story to someone who hasn't proven they deserve it. Your past is sacred. It made you who you are. The battles you've fought, the mistakes you've made, the lessons you carry, they're not for entertainment. They're not for emotional manipulation. They're for reflection, growth, and selective sharing with people who have shown they're worthy of that level of trust. Being a Stoic man doesn't mean you shut down emotionally. It means you don't overshare just to feel connected. It means you know the value of your journey and you protect it. Let people earn access to your deeper layers. Take your time. Observe how they handle your smaller truths before offering them the heavier ones. If someone can't handle your present with respect, they don't deserve the weight of your past. And here's the truth. Some people don't want to understand you. They just want to collect information they can use later. That's not intimacy. That's control. Your pain is not a test someone should have to pass to be with you. It's not a gift you give away casually. It's something that deserves space, protection, and the wisdom to know when and if to share it. So be kind to yourself. Carry your past with dignity, and only reveal it to those who prove, through time and action, that they'll hold it with care. Number 7. Don't agree simply to satisfy them. There's a subtle way men lose themselves in relationships, not through grand sacrifices, but through small daily silences. You say yes when you mean no. You agree just to avoid the argument. You nod along to things you don't believe in just to keep the peace. And over time, those small betrayals to your own truth begin to stack up. You become agreeable, passive, quiet. You're no longer a man with a voice. You're an echo of someone else's desires. This doesn't happen because you're weak. It happens because you care. You don't want to hurt anyone. You want to keep things smooth. You believe compromise is part of love, and it is. But there's a difference between compromise and self-erasure. When you start agreeing with things that go against your values, you're no longer building a relationship. You're just performing in one. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And what happens to those thoughts when they're constantly suppressed? When you don't speak your truth? You begin to feel frustrated, unheard, invisible, even to yourself. Have you ever said yes to something that left you feeling hollow afterward? Gone along with a decision that didn't sit right in your gut just because you didn't want to upset her? That quiet frustration doesn't just disappear, it festers. And eventually it leads to resentment, not just toward the other person, but toward yourself. A Stoic man is not afraid to be firm. He doesn't fear conflict when it's rooted in honesty. He knows that a healthy relationship isn't about constant agreement. It's about mutual respect, and respect begins with truth. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to express your opinion. You are allowed to have boundaries, and anyone who truly values you will welcome your truth, even if it's uncomfortable. They may not always agree, but they'll listen, and that's what matters. Don't confuse being agreeable with being good. Being good means being honest, being fair, being strong enough to have hard conversations and wise enough to know that conflict handled well can lead to deeper connection, not distance. So stop nodding your way through things that make you uneasy. Speak your truth with calm conviction. Hold your ground with kindness, but without apology. Because the moment you stop honoring your voice, you stop living your truth, and no relationship is worth that cost. Number 8. Don't be controlled by the fear of solitude. There's a fear that quietly rules over many men, not the fear of failure, not even the fear of heartbreak, but the fear of being alone. It's that heavy silence you feel when no one's texting you back, the empty room that makes you reach for your phone just to feel connected to someone, anyone. It's the voice in your head that says, maybe it's better to stay in a bad relationship than face the silence of being single. This fear leads men to stay in places they've outgrown, to chase people who no longer value them, to compromise on everything just to avoid solitude. But here's the truth. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. In fact, solitude, when embraced consciously, is one of the most powerful tools a man can have. Aristotle once said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, and there's no better place to learn who you are than in solitude. When you're alone, you're free from influence. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're not adjusting your behavior to keep someone happy. You are simply you, with all your thoughts, your doubts, your hopes, and your truths." But most people run from that, because being alone forces you to face yourself. The Stoics embrace solitude as a chance to build inner strength. They believe that a man who is afraid of being alone is a man who doesn't yet know himself. And a man who doesn't know himself will always be controlled by others, by their opinions, their approval, their affection. Have you ever stayed in a toxic situation just because the idea of being alone seemed worse? That mindset will keep you trapped in cycles of emotional dependency. It will keep you saying yes to things you hate and holding on to people who hurt you, just to avoid that uncomfortable silence. But here's the power of solitude. It gives you space to reset, to rebuild, to become the kind of man who doesn't need anyone to feel complete, who chooses relationships out of strength, not desperation. Spend time with yourself. Sit in the silence. Let it sharpen you. Let it teach you what you value, what you believe, and what you refuse to tolerate. Because the more comfortable you are in your own company, the less likely you are to settle for someone who treats you like an option. A Stoic man walks alone not because he has to, but because he can. And when you finally choose to share your life with someone, it won't be because you're afraid of being alone. It'll be because you've already built a complete life, and now you're ready to share it, not escape from it. So don't fear solitude. Use it, embrace it, let it shape you into a man who's whole, whether someone stays or walks away. Number 9. Don't forget to celebrate even small wins. In the rush to become better, stronger, more successful, many men forget to pause. We become so focused on the end goal, earning more, lifting more, becoming more, that we ignore the quiet victories we achieve every single day. We brush past them, telling ourselves, "That's nothing, I'll celebrate when I finally make it." But here's the truth. If you don't learn to appreciate your small wins, you'll never feel satisfied, even when you reach the big ones. In relationships, this is especially important. When you finally set a boundary instead of staying silent, that's a win. When you choose to walk away from a toxic argument instead of exploding, that's growth. When you take time for your own peace, when you show restraint, when you act with intention instead of impulse, those are victories even if no one else sees them. And yet, we often minimize them. Why? Because we're taught to measure progress by big, flashy milestones. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. It teaches us that true mastery is found in the small moments, the quiet decisions, the tiny steps, the choices made in silence when no one is watching. Epictetus said, "Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it." That means your progress doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need applause. What matters is that you see it, that you acknowledge it, and let it build your confidence from the inside out. Have you ever worked hard to break a toxic habit, only to feel like it didn't matter because no one noticed? That's the moment to shift your perspective. You don't need external validation. You need internal recognition. Because every time you choose discipline over desire, peace over reaction, or self-respect over temporary comfort, you're becoming stronger. So celebrate that. Write it down. Reflect on it. Speak it out loud if you have to. Not with arrogance, but with pride. Not to show off, but to remind yourself that you're moving forward, even if progress feels slow. This mindset also keeps you motivated. It prevents burnout. It reminds you that you're not stuck. You're evolving. And when you learn to honor your small wins, you build the momentum to reach the big ones. A Stoic man doesn't wait for perfection to feel proud. He finds meaning in progress. He doesn't need applause to keep going. He draws strength from knowing he's doing the right thing even if no one sees it. So look back on your week, your month, your year. What did you do that your old self would be proud of? What did you survive, endure, or rise above? That counts. That matters. And it deserves to be celebrated. Number 10. Don't abandon your purpose for a relationship. One of the greatest mistakes a man can make in any relationship is forgetting why he started his journey in the first place. You had dreams, goals, routines. You were building something, your body, your business, your mindset. And then someone came along who captured your attention. At first it felt like balance, but slowly, without even realizing it, your focus shifted. You started showing up less for your goals and more for them. You skipped your routines. Your ambitions softened. You made their world your priority, and your purpose took a back seat. It happens to good men. It happens to men with strong hearts. And it usually starts with good intentions. But here's what the Stoics would tell you. No relationship is worth sacrificing your purpose, because once you give that up, you give up your identity. Your purpose is what wakes you up in the morning. It's the fire that drives you. It's the thing that keeps you grounded when life gets chaotic. And when you abandon it, you're not just walking away from a goal, you're walking away from your strength, your direction, and your sense of self. Marcus Aurelius didn't stop journaling and leading an empire because of his relationships. Epictetus didn't give up teaching because someone else needed his time. These men understood that relationships can support your mission, but they should never replace it. Have you ever looked up one day and realized your days are filled with tasks, messages, and favors that have nothing to do with your goals? That you're constantly pouring your energy into someone else's needs while neglecting the very thing that makes you feel alive? That's the moment you must course correct. Because the truth is, if someone truly respects you, they won't want you to dim your ambition. They'll encourage it. They'll challenge you to keep growing, not guilt you for choosing growth. And if they feel threatened by your focus, your discipline, or your drive, that's not a reflection of love. That's a warning sign. A Stoic man puts his mission first, not because he's cold, but because he knows that everything good in his life flows from that center. Purpose gives you confidence. It gives you boundaries. It gives you direction. And the right people in your life will respect that, not resent it. So don't pause your life for anyone. Let them walk beside you, but never let them walk you off your path. Your mission isn't just what you do, it's who you are. Now that we've explored these 10 powerful truths, it's time to take a step back and reflect. Because how you show up in relationships reveals how deeply you value yourself. Too often, men give away their peace, their time, and even their identity just to keep someone close. They stay silent when they should speak, reshape themselves to fit someone else's expectations, and slowly lose the very essence of who they are. But that ends here. The Stoics believed that true freedom isn't found in other people. It's found within. It's found when you reclaim your time, your mind, and your mission. It's found in the quiet strength of saying no to things that no longer serve you, and in the courage to walk alone when the path requires it. You were not born to beg for love or to prove your worth through endless sacrifice. You were born to lead, with calm, discipline, and unwavering purpose. So remember, don't reshape your life to fit others. Don't become obsessed with someone else and forget who you are. Protect your mental health like your life depends on it, because it does. Stay connected to your roots, your family, your brothers. Guard your time and only give it to those who respect it. Protect your past and share it with care. Speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Learn to embrace solitude instead of running from it. Celebrate your small victories because they build your character. And above all, never walk away from your purpose. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be centered. You need to be grounded in your values so nothing can shake you. That's the Stoic way. Not to shut off your emotions, but to master them. So if this message hit home, support the mission. Like this video. Subscribe so you never miss another lesson that could shift your mindset. And share it with someone who needs this reminder, because every man deserves to hear it. Thank you for being here. Stay strong, stay grounded, and always lead with the Stoic mindset.